Hello and welcome to another episode of Peacebook Bengali. This is your host, Oswald. Today we will be focusing on the Eastern Front. The Eastern Front that has been quite often overlooked in the recent series of things that have happened around India's neighborhood. Now, why do I say that the East is very important? Because the Eastern border is more porous and there are bits of stretches, actually long stretches, where fences or any kind of physical demarcation cannot be put together only because there is geographical boundings or rather geographical limitations for it. Now, I would like to bring your attention to this recent development that has happened. The Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh now wants an independent Arakan state and they want the CCP's help, which actually poses, as correctly pointed out in the article, a strategic threat to India. Now, on April 27, 2025, Bangladesh's Islamist political organization, Jamaat-e-Islami, met with CCP delegation in Dhaka, right? And they communicated their idea of a separate Muslim state in Arakan region, which they want to curb out of Myanmar. Yes, you heard it right. Another Muslim state which needs to be curbed out of another sovereign state. It's a story as old as time. Now, the reasoning here is very interesting. The new Arakan state needs to be made for the displaced Rohingya Muslims who are already settled in Bangladesh. Now, one thing to keep in mind that this Islamist organization, Jamaat-e-Islami, was completely banned in Bangladesh because they were accused of many wrongdoings, including intimidation, political upheaval, violence against the state, and also violence against Jain minorities. Now, their wording of it is very interesting. They say the Arakan state would be an independent Muslim-majority state and it will be carved out of the Myanmar's Rakhine region. They call it a permanent solution to the Rohingya problems, knowing very well, I guess they don't know or they don't want to know, that this will once again inflame the already very delicate situation or geopolitical balance in this entire region, especially at the northeast of India, the Seven Sisters. Now, as I mentioned before, Jamaat-e-Islami was banned by the Awami League, which was led by the now ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina under the country's Anti-Terrorism Act. Now, how did this came about? Now, in August 2024, when students' protests broke out, in which the Jamaatist student wing played a huge key role, where, if you remember correctly, people from Bengal and across India were celebrating as a monsoon revolution of sort, that it is a movement of students, whereas many had their reservations about how academic these students are and who exactly was directing the students to give up their lives for their political cause. Now, after Sheikh Hasina was ousted from power, Muhammad Yunus took charge as the chief advisor of Bangladesh interim government. And this is the same government which lifted the ban on Jamaat-e-Islami. Now, very important to note here is Jamaat-e-Islami was banned in 2013 for his alleged role in war crimes during Bangladesh's 1971 liberation war. Now, most of you might not know this, but when Bangladeshis were fighting their war of independence, Mukti Juddho as they call it, there were Rajakar troops. Now, who were these Rajakars? Rajakars were primarily people, ex-army, ex-civil servants, very highly Islamized people who took the side of Pakistan when the fight of liberation broke out. And they did horrendous things. They did mass rapes, they burned villagers alive, all at the behest of the Pakistani army. Now, coming back to the recent proposal of the Arakan state. During the April 27 meeting, Jamaat-e-Islami proposed the formation of an independent Arakan state in Myanmar's Rakhine region itself to help resettle the Rohingya refugees currently residing in Bangladesh and creating a huge problem for them as well. We will come to that maybe in another video sometime. Syed Abdullah Muhammad Tahir, a senior Jamaat leader, that China's importance towards achieving these solutions, emphasizing China's influence in the region. He continued, providing food and shelter is not a lasting answer. The real solution lies in resettling the Rohingyas in their own homeland through the creation of an independent Arakan state. Now, I don't have to tell our listeners, you guys are really smart, so you can understand why they're always trying to impress China and trying to bring them there, even though China has been completely against any kind of religious fanaticism within their borders. If I say if, because I don't think China is going to follow it through, they're just testing the waters. I think the Uncle Sam will not let them. But if push comes to shove, what does it mean for India's northeast? Now, Jamaat's Arakan State would be a nightmare for strategic security for the Indian Republic, as Rakhine region of Myanmar shares a border with India's northeastern state of Mizoram. This raises serious concerns about India's security and outcomes similar to what India is already facing at the Bangladeshi border, with potential cross-border insurgency, illegal migration, and of course the ever-present spread of radical Islamic ideologies into this already sensitive northeast region. Now, this Arakan state, the idea of an Arakan state might also bring up new groups who would feel emboldened that now that a new carving out a state out of an already sovereign state is coming into play, it will serve as a beacon call for all the radicals who are there within the Bangladesh and surrounding region. Now, historically, ISI used to back Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh, but after the 1971 war, Indian intelligence agencies have been monitoring the situation very closely, but this might shift it. Now, India already has its own refugee crisis with Rohingyas, particularly in states like Jammu and Telangana. The establishment of a new Rohingya state just at the border of the northeast India would lead to further displacement and also illegal migration, escalating existing demographic challenges that particular region faces. Now, what I think is very interesting is that all of a sudden, Jamaat-e-Islami has actively started its international lobbying, aiming to gain support from various international stakeholders like the UN and the OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The particular organization also aims to internationalize the proposal and secure backing for the formation of the said Arakan state, a solution for the Rohingyas while strengthening its legitimacy as a political party, which as of now they severely lack, because the BNP, which primarily gave them patronage, has been long out of power. However, Myanmar's military has rejected and categorically rejected the proposal and deemed it as a threat to Myanmar's national sovereignty, and justifiably so. Now, we have to ask this question. For example, for argument's sake, let's think that Arakan state is being created, right? The state has been created, everybody is praising everybody. It's a Muslim-majority state or exclusively Muslim state, whatever they want to do. Now, what happens to the Rohingyas who are living in Bangladesh? Ask yourself, would they be willing to go to the newly created state of Arakan, which borders with Myanmar, which historically they have had a very bad relation with? Or they would like to come into India, where apparently there is no rule of law. You can just come across the border, live here for 10 odd years and nobody would know. Now, this move is an add-on to the existing political challenges in Bangladesh. This is a further escalation. It is not that it is not challenging right now, but this dimension gives it a lot more complexity to the geopolitical stability in the region, particularly in the northeast India. India has to monitor this situation very, very closely, because as Jamaat-e-Islam works towards strengthening and consolidating its political position in Bangladesh, Indian Northeast or Northeastern India, the Seven Sisters, it will be very, very difficult to protect the entire region if we do not keep a very, very close eye on the situation. And with that, I would conclude today's episode. Thank you for listening. This is your host, Oswald. Thank you for watching Bespoke Bengali. Thank you.